Hey guys, it's Barrett with the Gimpy Camper. So today we are at Loyston Point, which is a TVA campground here in Norris, Tennessee. Two of the first few videos that we did were at Norris Dam State Park. Norris Dam, I think it was west, the one we went to first. My very first video, which wasn't that great, but that was a pretty nice campground. The other side, you know, it was just like a grassy field. I didn't really care for that much. I had a friend that stayed down here at Loyston Point on Norris Lake, and he said it was a great place to stay and wanted me to check it out. So here I am checking it out, and all in all, it is a really nice place to stay. We also ran into another couple people that I've actually went to high school with one of them, but they are the Ramblin Home. They have a YouTube channel. I would check that out. I'm going to put a link up here and a link in the description. So check that out for them. Their channel's pretty small. Tell them the Gimpy Camper sent you over. So as far as the campground here goes, most of the cons have to do with either simple to fix things or things that we can't do anything about. So I'm going to start with that. So the first thing is just driving in. So when you're driving in, the roads, you need to really use the directions that they put on their website, which is also the signs that are coming from town. So whenever you first go into Norris, you get to a speed limit that's about 30 miles per hour. The first turn is going to be off to the left right there. And then the GPS told me to take another turn, and so I did that because I ignored the way that it wanted me to go to start with. And I went down the sketchiest roads that you could possibly imagine. Like, to me, they looked like one-way streets, but they weren't one-way streets, but they were only legitimately like a lane and a half of traffic. They were paved, but it's not something that you really want to do. If you go the way that they recommend, everything's fine, except there's one extremely sharp curve, which they actually recommend going the opposite way and turning around and coming back, because it is pretty sharp to take with a camper. So on top of that, when you get here, it's a little bit confusing, and I think it's more confusing now than what it usually is, because they have the beach area closed and the day use places closed. And so when you come in, first of all, you get to a yellow gate, and there's not really a sign right there that I saw, but the gate's closed that goes straight, but you keep turning right to come back into the campground here. So you get to another yellow gate, and you see one half of it closed. Now it does say campers only after this on another sign, but the sign that's leaning against half of the gate closed says that the beach is closed. So me just coming over the hill and seeing that sign, seeing another turn right here, I took the other turn, which happened to be the boat ramp. And so you do have to come through where half of the gate's closed, where it says the beach is closed right now, which is all because of COVID. You might not even have to deal with this whenever you decide to come and visit. However, when you go right past there, there's like a campground host or something area there, and there's a cone in the middle of the road that says like slow, and there's a sign that says you got to check in at the office. And the sign there, I get it now that I stopped and actually looked at it. Like, there's arrows pointing up both sides, but they got lots of little arrows, and to me, to tell the truth, I thought they were trees when I pulled in. And so there was somebody standing outside, so I said, where do I go? They said, office is straight ahead. So I went straight ahead to the office. When you get to the office, there's some slight confusion there on where you should park, because there's not really anywhere to park while you check in, but they want you to park there and check in. So there wasn't anybody like parked up there, so I just blocked all their parking spaces. There is a curve off to the left, which you kind of wonder, do I need to pull in that pull through? But when you pull in that pull through, the issue is that's the driveway that goes back to their cabins. So I guess they just want you to block the road for a minute. I have no idea. I still don't understand that one. Now, as far as the campground goes, it's really nice. It was a little bit confusing to drive on because we're staying in site 1, which is the handicap site. And it felt to me like you were supposed to drive through, but the angle was wrong. But after I've been around for a little bit, these roads are not one-way roads like typical campground, so that makes it a lot easier. Also, on those sites that are water sites, that means that you can go from either way. So whenever you park beside the water, if it's just like they're one of their small pull-throughs, you can orient your camper however you want to based on the direction that you're going. So I think that that is a plus. The only issue for being back here is, except for, like, they do have seasonal sites. I think all of their seasonal sites are off of the water. I think they rent the sites all on the water by the day. Apparently there is you know, some slight flooding that happens from time to time with some of these day use sites. But with me, most of the water sites, they're all beautiful, every one of them, down along the edge, and I'll show you some drone footage down along the edge of the water here. The only issue with most of them is that they're pull through, but they're, number one, a little bit short, and number two, the roads here, the pull through goes at a slant and the site's a little bit slanted, but you know, that can have like a 3 or 4 foot drop on some of those, and then it usually does level out where you're going to park, but then you got to go up the slant to get back up. So because of that, I'm going to give you some numbers that I would stay at. But I want you to know, if you have like a pop-up or a small like 20-foot camper, you'd probably be fine in any one of those spots down there. But I have a 30-foot camper, and I'm going to tell you where I would stay if I came back. Okay, so before we do that, I do want to go over the cell service because I forget to mention that a lot. We have Verizon. We have anywhere from 2 bars to 4 bars of 4G LTE. Now, our friends that are staying here said that they usually have better service, because although mine says 2 or 3 most of the time, it's not been a consistent signal. So I'm just barely getting enough to mess around on Facebook a little bit. Definitely wasn't uploading any video, and you know, a lot of times I'm still having to wait on it. But they said it's usually better than that, so I don't know what's going on there. As far as the campground goes, I'm going to show you a close-up of the map here. But where I would stay, now this is site 1 where I'm staying at. The camper's behind the camera. All of this is open. There's nothing else here. This is a handicap site. Their handicap site is nice. There's not a lot of things to trip on other than the railroad ties that go around it, which I suppose that you have to have because it does kind of go downhill here. But once you get set up, like all this stuff where your fire pit is and where your picnic table is, it's all flat and it should be good. One more slightly negative side note that I saw is, I think all their sites have water, but my water and a lot of the other water is like 50 foot away, 70 foot away. From what I understand, the campers that pulled in across the street offered to let them use one of my extra hoses, but he said that they told them down at the office that they had extra hoses down there that you could use for free. So if you can't reach it with the hose you got, I guess check that out. Now, as far as the potential campsites, I think my friends down at the Ramblin Home have probably one of the best sites here. It's site 10. So you go over this hill and you'll see the river back there. Go to the bottom, and the one that's on the very end on the right is site 10. It seems to have the best balance. The negative side effect there is apparently there is a path that goes from that site to the beach, and so quite a few people apparently walk through there on a normal busy day. The only other negative aspect of that site would be they have some trees that are fairly close on both sides. And so, you know, if the awning's important, they do have all their slides out and they have their awning out, but they didn't have very much room at all because on the back side there's a tree right between their slides, and on the front side the awning goes out right in between 2 trees. So, but there is a lot of shade down there, so it kind of, all of these sites here are a balance, and a balance to get close to that pretty lake back there. Okay, so that's site 10. Site 11, I would also say is a great site. It's kind of strange because it's right next to the road. I mean, it's like there's no grass space at all between the parking spot and the road. But there's also nothing across from you except for the road and the water. And so I think that if I would probably use that site and just pull in so my front door is against the water, which is also going to be right at the road, but I would try to just get a little bit further away from the road, even if it was like edging on the grass a little bit. That would be my preference, okay? And some people are gonna be like, I don't want to be right next to the road. Well, I would say it's not a busy road, but while I've been talking, there's been like 4 cars come by. So then there's sites 12 and 13. 12 and 13 are also great sites. They're down right on the water, right on the edge of the water, but that whole pull through, you can go either way you want to thing, those are back end sites. And so you can't, if you have a Class A, you could pull straight in and park right there and have your door on the right side where you're facing the water and it'd be all pretty. Now there's not very much shade, especially in site 12. There is a little bit in site 13. But I couldn't pull my fifth wheel in there forward and unhook the truck because I would be like having to drive through the water to get out. And so that's something that you got to keep in mind. Site 64 also seemed to be pretty nice, but there's starting to be a little bit of that slant there, but I think that it would be fine for a larger camper, okay? And then starting there is where we start having issues with the slant, okay? So starting at 62, going all the way around to 46 basically it's all really slanted right there. And so if you have something with a high ground clearance, if you have a shorter rig, if you have tents, those are all going to be great, okay? But the only negative side is I think that if you have a longer camper, you're going to rub getting in and out of there, so you don't really want to do that. Of those, if you do have a shorter camper and you want to stay somewhere, my pick would be site 56 because it's right on the point and it's just beautiful back there. And then when you go on around the corner, there's also a section there, 35. I would put as one of the greatest sites as well. It's got like a huge yard. It's right on the water. Again, there's not a lot of shade there, but the site itself is great, okay? And then there's a bunch for anywhere from 36 down to 31 that are right across the street from the water. A lot of them have pretty big yards. Apparently that is more of a flood zone, so you know, if you're expecting bad weather, that might not be where you want to go, but they're nice and level and large lots, and they're really pretty. I'm going to show you some pictures of those here. So guys, that's all I have for this week's adventure here at Loyston Point. I would definitely check this campground out, especially if you have a shorter rig. If you have a longer rig, stick to those sites that I told you about. They're going to be great. As far as the seasonal sites, I will tell you, if you're interested in a seasonal site, like I said, they are off of the water. I talked to them at the camp store. Apparently they do those by lottery every year. They said you do have to be here at the time of the lottery, but you can put your name in the hat there and see if you win a spot for the year, but I don't know what the rates are or anything like that. You'd have to contact them here at the store. So you're also about 30 minutes from town if you need anything. So I definitely, if you're like bringing the interstate down here and you're going to be here all weekend and you don't have a lot of groceries, I would probably stop at the Walmart or somewhere there when you get off the interstate in Clinton and then come on in. But we've had a great weekend and we hope to be taking you on more adventures soon. So thanks for following us. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.